Hey, super friends, my name is Neil, and I am live to you right now, hopefully on YouTube and on Instagram, because I wanted to chat to you about what I have been up to this week in celebration of today's Batman Day. If there is anything that you want to ask about what I got up to this week, then just let me know in the comments. I am watching you on YouTube and on Instagram, which is very strange because I'm watching myself at the same time. I've got some clips to show you of what I have been up to. So yeah, get interactive. Let me know what you're doing to celebrate Batman Day today, and let's just nerd out about how much we love The Dark Knight. So, if you haven't seen anything that I have posted so far on social media today, then let me take you back to the beginning. Around a week and a half ago, I got an email from Warner Brothers asking if I could keep Thursday, the 18th of September, free to do some top secret activities which would be related to Batman Day, which is happening today, September the 20th, as we are recording and doing this live stream. So I'm like, yeah, cool. I can get the day off work. I wonder what it is we're going to be doing. Kind of tried not to think about it too much because you never want to get your hopes up thinking that it's going to be something absolutely crazy. And then it turns out that it was. So I find out that what Warner Brothers wants to do with us and the usual crew that you see with me at events when we're celebrating DC Comics. So Paul from DC World, Kibler from the Brothers Geek Out podcast, Ben from Discussing Film, the guys from Cyberners, Timmy, everyone, that awesome crowd. I just love spending time with them. We were invited to go to the Warner Brothers UK archive, which is a top secret location. So I'm keeping on exactly where it was that we went. It is a top secret location where essentially Warner Brothers houses all of the props, costumes, vehicles, everything that is currently not in use in an active production. So yeah, there was a lot to see there. They had laid out a whole bunch of stuff which was to do with the Batman franchise for us specifically to see on that day. But there's loads of stuff around. You could see stuff from kind of like the Potter franchise, Game of Thrones franchise, stuff that has been in production recently that is all just getting ready to get stored away there. But we were there obviously for Batman, and there is a ton of Bat-related stuff which is held in this warehouse. So we get driven out to this top secret location, given the kind of spiel about turning off location services on our phones because we don't want to give away where we are. Make sure not to touch anything, which, yes, very sad. I wish I could have been throwing batarangs around, but no, that was not something that we were to do in the moment. And then we were taken from this kind of introductory area into the main warehouse itself. It's this huge sprawling space with racks and racks of costumes that you could see up there, as well as all of the vehicles and things which are all being kept and preserved for both film history and should they ever be needed to be used again. Now, the exhibition stuff that they had got out for us was mainly relating to The Batman and also to the Dark Knight trilogy movies. So we were shown a whole bunch of costumes, props, and vehicles. We will get to it in a second from those franchises. So I've lined up a few clips and stuff for you to take a look at. So why don't we start with Christian Bale's Batsuit? I got to get really up close and personal with it. So this was the suit from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. The difference here is that, you know, if you were to go to the Batman Unmasked exhibit or any of those kinds of prop exhibits that they've had in the recent past, more often than not, the costumes are behind glass. You know, they're in a special case so that, you know, you're not up there, you're not getting all handsy with them. Whereas we were, you know, there was no barrier, there was no glass case. We were literally up in the face of these things, looking at all of the fine detail. So let's take a look at Christian Bale's Batsuit.
This one's been everything. This is kind of like the one that's been used the most because it's the only one that's in this pocket. It's like a sliding roof. So he would be used to it.
How cool is that? Literally right up in front of that Batsuit. I'm going to play it again so you can get a good look at the fine detail.
This one's been everything. This is kind of like the one that's been used the most because it's the only one that's in this pocket. It's like a sliding roof. So he would be used to it.
I just realized that I also had stupidly not pressed the live button on YouTube. So if you are not on YouTube, sorry, on Instagram. So if you are just joining us, what I am doing is I am talking you through what I got to do for Batman Day 2025, where Warner Brothers UK took us on a very, very special visit to their prop archive, where they keep all of their costumes and props and vehicles from films which are currently not in production. So that was a little look at Christian Bale's Batsuit from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. It was so incredible to see it up close. First of all, in fact, I'm just going to play it again and I'm going to talk over the top. Look at that cape. It's huge. How on earth any actor or stuntman was able to run around with that amount of cape behind them is incredible. And then obviously you can see all of the paneling detail there that we've come to know from the film. But it's incredible to see it under such high lighting as well, because you can really see all of the fine detail in there. And because this is obviously screen used, there is, there's scratches and you can see the life that the costume has lived when it was used on set. So it's just amazing to see up close. Next to him was Anne Hathaway's Catwoman costume. Now, first of all, she is tiny, but at the same time, I really appreciated getting up close and seeing the goggles that she wore, only very, very briefly in the film. Obviously, she has her domino mask, but very rarely in the film did we get to see the kind of flip down bit that looks like cat ears, but also had kind of lenses and had uses in terms of the technology she was using. So just take a closer look at the Catwoman costume. It's also incredible to see the boots that go with that costume as well. Like, I've heard of knee-high boots before, but they're right up to the top of her thighs. It's incredible how she was able to move around. What I wished, and I realized after we left that I didn't get close to, is the razor blades that are in her boots, because obviously her boots are used as kind of cutting tools as well. So I wish I'd gotten a little closer look at those. But those goggles, let me play it again so you can get a closer look. Just look at the fine detail. You can see the little kind of gold flecks that are almost like little bits of technology, but then there's cabling in there underneath those red goggles that have also got like magnifying lenses. There's just so much little detail in there in terms of what it is that she's able to do and able to see when she is wearing those. It's really, really cool. A little special one up next. So the next costume that was there was Heath Ledger's Joker costume. Now, this was a special version of the coat rather than the standard one that he wears for most of the film. This is the version that has the grenades sewn in. So you can see some of the really fine detail in the stitching, which was used for just hanging those grenades inside his coat. Let me play it so you can see what I'm talking about.
I don't know about Catwoman, though.
See, I wouldn't want to...
I love the fact that they used purple stitching. So for that main thread that goes up to the ring that's over his finger, but then also if you went right down inside the coat and got really close to those grenades that are in there, pretty much all of that stitching is either different shades of kind of pink, purple, and green, which is obviously very, very Joker. And you would never see that on film, but to see it up close, you can see the fine detail that the costume designers used, just, for their own personal sense of wanting to make it as complete and as natural as possible. So those are the Dark Knight costumes. There was also a ton of Dark Knight props, and you can see some pictures of those over on social media as well. So there were different cowls. There was the backpack that Christian Bale's Batman wears when he's in Hong Kong before he does the dive off the building top. There were lots of little batarangs, his Geiger counter, the Joker's device that he uses to set the bomb off, a couple of Joker cards, the Scarecrow mask, the Bane mask are also there for us to take a look at. I got tons of photos of those, which I'll be posting as well. So please do take a look at those. Over on the other side of the room were costumes from the Batman. So there was Colin Farrell's Penguin, which we'll take a look at first. So you can see with this one, it's a lot more traditional. It is exactly as it was on film, but it's a much more straightforward. It's not as melodramatic. It's not as high kind of concept as maybe the Penguin from Batman Returns or any of the other times we've seen him on film. It's a much more traditional take, which is what Colin Farrell wore in the Batman. We did also get to have a look at his car from the Penguin TV series. I don't have any video footage of it, but I do have a couple of photos of it. But it was really cool, again, to see that up close. Next to him was Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman costume. Now, she's even smaller than Anne Hathaway. She's absolutely minuscule. I've had a chance to see this costume before in a glass cabinet. It was at an event celebrating the release of the Batman movie where we got to see the Batmobile just kind of from a distance. But it was really cool to see up close because her costume is very well worn. It looks like it's something that's been lived in for a very, very long time. It's very, very different, obviously, to Anne Hathaway's costume. It's less technological. It's a bit more homemade, but nonetheless very, very cool. So here is Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman as I got to see it. You can see how beaten up it is. It's kind of almost somewhere in between kind of a Michelle Pfeiffer and an Anne Hathaway. It has the more practicality of the Michelle Pfeiffer version of the costume, but then it has all... that was a complete lie. It has all of the practicality of the Anne Hathaway version, but then it has some of the stitching and the kind of the life of the Michelle Pfeiffer version was what I was going to say there, because you can see from the arm, if I play it again, that there's some damage. You can see that there's a couple of damage patches. There's some rips over her shoulders there. The boots are very, very dusty and worn. So it has much more of a practical, useful version of the costume, but still has a lot of that Catwoman edge to it. I love seeing that beanie mask up close as well, because it's just so interesting to see how much it still makes her look like a cat, but at the same time, it's literally just a beanie with the visor cut out. Of course, if you've seen Penguin, if you've seen Catwoman, then there is really only other one major costume that you want to see. And we're going to look at it in just a second. But I want to talk you through some of the props that were there as well. So we got to see a couple of Robert Pattinson cowls, as well as his computer, some of the Riddler cards. Edward Nashton's wallet was there, as well as the cup of tea with the phone, the coffee with the phone with the question mark was also there for us to take a look at. So there was a lot of different props from that film for us to take a look at. But of course, the thing that everyone wants to see is Robert Pattinson's Bat costume. It's so cool to get up close to this one because in a way, it's almost quite similar to Christian Bale's in that there is so much fine detail in it. But you just don't necessarily appreciate quite how much fine detail there is when you see it on film. But seeing it up close, especially in a warehouse like this with so much light above it, it's really interesting to see how much detail there is in there. So let me play this for you.
So they've taken them out of that, but the camera is still on the camera. Yeah. Still on one line of the camera, one of that is.
Again, it's really dirty and it's really lived in because this is a real working costume that was used on the set of the Batman. Robert Pattinson wore this suit. But what is also really interesting to me, and I think you can kind of see it in the video there, is that it doesn't look quite as effective when you see it on a mannequin as it does in the film. If I play it again and talk you over it, that chest plate almost looks quite flat and almost awkwardly angled. It doesn't quite hang as well on a mannequin as it does on an actor itself. So it has quite a flat look when you see it like this. But then you do have the fine detail there in the utility belt, which has a lot more on it than I kind of remembered. And I love seeing the gauntlets up close. And again, you can see the dust and the scratches and the wear in it. Again, look at the bat symbol, how much that's chipped away and the paint is chipped away from it. But it's just really interesting to see how it sits when it's not on an actor, because it just isn't quite as majestic as Christian Bale's suit. If I go back and show you that again.
This one.
when you see it, it has so much of the regality of Batman, the awe of Batman, um, even just positioned like this on a mannequin. Whereas you come back over to the Bane suit, and it just doesn't quite have as much magic to it when you see it like this. But then when you see it on film, it's incredible. But then when you look at the fine detail, there's just so much to it. So it was really interesting to see the difference and the contrast between how the suits look when they're worn by an actor and when they're literally just kind of placed in front of you like this. So it was very cool to see how it would be laid out like that. Um, Now you can see it in the background. I know you can see it in the background, so we're going to start talking about it. There were also vehicles there for us to take a look at. So let me start with a couple of Bat bikes. These are just a couple of still images that you can see from the bikes. So you can see there that's Christian Bale's Bat bike, it's Robert Pattinson's Bat bike, which has a little bit more of a sleek front plate to it, and then this is Christian Bale's Bat pod from the Tumbler, which you can see is sat next to it. It's very cool to see this up close and to see that these are both actually real working bikes as well, although they're not quite as maneuverable as perhaps a normal motorcycle would be. So it's interesting talking to the guys from the prop house about how these work in practice. Because when these are all kept in the warehouse like this, they're still drivable. They are still moved around every now and then to keep the engines running, to keep them in good working order, but also to bring them out to show to people when they come to visit, like we did on this day. Tumbler. So the Tumbler was sat there, and they were explaining to us that it was the version of the Tumbler which does the waterfall stunt in Batman Begins. It was also sprayed camouflage for some scenes in The Dark Knight Rises, and it is also used as the Tumbler, which you see Tom Hardy's Bane riding on as part of The Dark Knight Rises as well. So over its lifetime, it's been black, it's been camouflaged, it's been painted back to black again. So it was there. I walked around it. I did a full 360 video, which I'll post as well, from looking at the Tumbler parked there. So I'd walked around it, I'd had a look at it, I'd taken loads of photos of it, and had gone back to looking at the props that were next to it when somebody who's part of the Warner Brothers team that runs the archive said that they had just asked one of the guys to go and get the stepladder so that we could get in. I stopped dead in my tracks, and I said to her, did I just hear you correctly? Did you say in? And she said, yeah, you're going to get inside it. And we did. So here is the video of what happened when I got inside Christian Bale's Tumbler. That's it. Fingers in. I am inside the Tumbler. Now, as I'm sure loads of you are aware, there are often different versions of the vehicles which are used in the films. So there are the kind of stunt versions which don't have what they call the beauty interior, which are used for a lot of the stunt driving scenes, and they are actually used for doing all of the stunt driving. So that version of the Tumbler that you saw there was never filmed from inside, it was only filmed from the outside. So inside it is all really practical, what's the word I'm looking for? It's all very practical equipment which the stunt driver would use in order to complete the scenes on film. I can see people there commenting on Instagram. Yes, it's the Tumbler. How cool is it that I was in the Tumbler? So there's a lot of very low-tech, lo-fi switches and dials and buttons which are simply used by a stunt driver in order to keep themselves safe and to be able to drive it so that it looks great on film. They were explaining to us that there was an actual entirely different interior which had all of the kind of back computer and the bells and whistles that you see Christian Bale using in the film. And obviously the real kind of the funny moment that you sort of don't realize, you maybe think about it a little bit as you're looking at it, but you don't realize until you're inside it, is that there really is no room for there to be a bat pod hiding in there. I mean, you could see kind of around my feet, there wasn't a lot of room in there. So there was no way you were kind of sliding down into that front cockpit to then fly out onto the bat bike. But you know what? Suspension of disbelief for the films itself. So that was the Tumbler. It's very cool inside. There's not a lot of space. You can easily kind of slide down to get into the seat, but it really is about the practicality of a driver being able to get in there and drive it. Now, next to that was Robert Pattinson's Batmobile, which we all know is an absolute beast on film. Lo and behold, we're then allowed to get into that Batmobile as well. So here is what happened when I jumped into Robert Pattinson's Batmobile.
Right hand up.
That's why the leg was
Swing your good.
exactly shifting gears and everything was perfect.
And now I get really awkward.
And then you slide it exactly. Oh wow. On that wrong arrow. There you go. So this would have been one of the actual standard driver modes. The real one, as it were. The beauty version has a separate seat. It's got that huge grey panel Yeah, so the beauty version of that, on the inside of that, I think it was this one that turned on.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that's like a whole separate thing. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's a whole separate thing, and it's like a huge. It's so much more spacious, and it's got seats like this. It's really comfortable.
So interestingly, it was actually kind of easier to get into the Tumbler than it was to get into Robert Pattinson's. With the Tumbler, you went up the step ladder and there was kind of a footwell that you just put your foot on and you just put yourself in through the sunroof and then were able to sit down. Whereas, as you just saw from that video, trying to get into Robert Pattinson's, you had to get up onto the side, find a handle which was just inside of the window, and then kind of pull yourself in, and then to get back out of it afterwards, which absolutely did not happen on film because it was not stealthy whatsoever. You had to kind of get yourself onto that handle and throw yourself back out through the window to get out again. But it was interesting. There was a little bit more space inside Robert Pattinson's. Again, this was a stunt version, so inside everything was practical, ready for the stunt driver to be able to use. So there's no kind of bat bells or whistles in that one either. There were some really fun buttons though, which just you would almost kind of imagine were a slightly more campy version. So like there was a horn button and like an emergency stop button and just funny just little icons for things, again, that a stunt driver would use in the moment if something was happening that they needed to signal to someone outside, or they needed to stop the car, or if something was wrong. So it was interesting to see all of that. The Pattinson Batmobile, I guess it's newer and has been used more recently, so there was a really strong smell of fuel in there. I mean, you have that huge engine right behind you. So whilst you're in there, it is almost literally directly behind you, just over your shoulder. Whereas when you're in the Tumbler, you're in a cockpit and you are very sealed into that cockpit. It was a little bit more musty, but then it's a little bit older and hasn't been used in a while. But it was cool to see the similarities between the two of them because they were made for stunt drivers to use. There were other Batmobiles there, so I'm just going to press play on another video that was an absolute bucket list tick moment for me. I have had the pleasure of being in the room with Michael Keaton's Batmobile before. I've been in the room with some replicas, but I have also seen original versions that were screen used. This was a screen used one. And whoa, it just, nothing beats the design of this car. It's magical. It is so cool to see it up close. And to get to, I didn't get to sit inside this one because she's a little bit older. She's a little bit more precious. We weren't allowed to sit inside this one. Things probably have a tendency to fall off this one a bit more just because it's slightly older. But it is nonetheless absolutely incredible to see it up close. It's so long. It's the longest of the cars. And it has the most kind of physical presence in the room as well. It was really cool getting to see inside it. So this version does have most of what you see in the film as well. So there's lots of little dials and screens and readouts that have already been set up that were visible on film. But there were some small details that I've never noticed before. So the back of both the driver's seat and the passenger seat have a kind of mesh headrest that you can see through, and behind it is a speaker with a Bat logo on there. And I really have to go back because I've never noticed it. I don't know if it's something that you just can't see on film or it's only ever fleetingly glanced. So I've never noticed it before, and it was really cool to see up close. I'll tell you what, I'll play it again for you. So once you come round the tail fin, which you can see are still really sleek and they've been maintained so well, there's a lot of the dials and the buttons and things that you can see there on the driver's side. But then the speakers there just behind, you just catch into it there, the kind of gold Bat logo on the speaker that's behind the seats. You can see it there just through the windscreen. But it's just, honestly, it's just the most beautiful thing to see up close. It was just incredible to be able to see it. And that was our journey to the archive. There's so many photos and other bits and pieces that I took that day. So I will make sure that all of that is posted as much as possible across social media. So please go and find me at Neil Vag or us at Get Your Comic Con if you want to take a look at any of that. Someone has just asked if they can see the Tumblr again, so I'm going to play it again for you right now. I am inside the Tumblr. That was it. That was inside. I'm never going to forget that moment ever for the rest of my days. It was absolutely incredible. But that wasn't the only thing that we did that day. So having seen all of these costumes and all of these props, we head back to Warner Brothers offices where we were able to get our hands on a very early, so I think they said it was pre-alpha demo level from the brand new Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight video game, which is coming out in 2026. It does not have a specific release date yet. But we were able to play for a good couple of hours. They had several consoles set up for us all to jump on and have time to play. I'm going to play some B-roll footage while I talk about it. This game is so much fun. The best way to describe it is it takes a lot of the mechanics from the Arkham games and puts it into the world of Lego. So you have things like detective mode. You are doing a lot of grappling and gliding around the city. In an Arkham Knight style, you're able to call the Batmobile and you can ride around the city finding crimes. So you can see on screen right now there is a little red triangle warning symbol over to the right hand side of the screen, and that's letting you know that there is a crime in progress that you're able to catch up to. They've taken so much of the kind of ethos and the aesthetic of the Arkham games, but put it into the Lego world, and it works really, really well. You still have all of that kind of fun and whimsy of a Lego game. You're still able to smash up certain things. You're still uncovering tiny little puzzles. There's loads of little Easter eggs and things in there, which are played more for laughs than you would get in an Arkham game. But it just works really well. It's really slick the way they've melded the two kind of different game aesthetics together. So the level that we saw took part on Tri-Corner Island. There are 4 different islands. We only had access to Tri-Corner. It's quite a large map. There's lots of places that you can go in. There's places like Diner. There's a GCPD there. There's a few different places that you can go inside. As is typical with Lego games, there are certain things that you need to do. So there were rubber ducks, as in penguin rubber ducks, that we needed to go find all of them around to complete a task. There are Riddler trophies, which again is taken inspiration from the Arkham games, which you're able to collect. Some of those have challenges around them. Some of them are just there to pick up. Really, really fun. The missions themselves include some little deep cut characters. So I didn't get to see any of the major villains, but I saw the Red Hood gang was lurking around, which was really, really fun, and a nice little Easter egg. There are Easter eggs from Batman 89, Batman Returns that I saw while I was in there. It's it just brings you all of that fun, and you can see from me smiling, it brings you all of that fun that you expect from a Lego game, but with just so much Batman detail in there at the same time. Let's play a bit more footage from it, because they sent me a bunch of B-roll. This is one of the puzzles that you have to do. I did this exact bit while I was playing it, actually. So this is some of the B-roll footage from Gamescom. There are multiple bat suits. In the demo level that we played, we were able to switch between playing as Commissioner Gordon or playing as Batman. Each one has different costumes, so we were able to see Batman in his Robert Pattinson suit. There was a Christian Bale suit. There was also Rainbow Batman, Batman Brave and the Bold, which was my favorite one to play with, which is a lot brighter in terms of the blue. And there was also the Golden Age First Edition with the purple gloves and the really big ears. You could also play different Batmobiles. So I had access to Robert Pattinson's Batmobile, Robert Pattinson's Batbike, and also to the Tumbler. So it was fun because it kind of lined up with what else we had been doing during the day, because it meant that I could drive around in either of the Batmobiles that I had been sitting in. The Tumbler was a little bit more difficult to maneuver because it's bulkier, but I did a time trial, which is one of the kind of side missions that is available outside the main story. So I did a time trial riding in the Tumbler, and it was so much fun to be able to do it. There was a boost button, which really makes that thing fly. But then there's just so many fun. So as I said, there's fun little Easter eggs. But for instance, if you're playing as Jim Gordon, rather than him gliding like Batman, he has a GCPD glider. And again, rather than driving the Batmobile, he drives a GCPD. So what I had access to is a GCPD motorcycle. But when he's driving, Batman is holding onto the back of the bike, and his cape is flapping and he's flying in the wind. Whereas if you're on the Bat bike and you're controlling as Batman, Commissioner Gordon's holding onto the back of the bike, and bless him, his little legs are just kind of flapping behind you in the wind. So pre-alpha, so there's still a long way to go till the game is finished, but I was just so impressed by the level of detail that was already in there. Between the different Batsuits, there were different textures. So you could see in that first bit of footage, if I play it again, so that is the Robert Pattinson Batman. His cape, which you can see more when he's gliding, is as if it was a minifigure that had a material cape. So you can see the fine detail of the material that they use in Lego minifigures when he is gliding. Whereas when you were playing in Christian Bale's Batsuit, it's if you have a minifigure of that character, it's more of a traditional plasticky kind of cape, and that is reflected in what you see on screen as well. So it's really fun to be able to see how they've not only thought of basic skins, but they've thought of things like textures. The other thing that was impressive, again, at this stage of the game at pre-alpha, was that when I played as Commissioner Gordon, the combat felt very different to when I was playing as Batman. So you do have very different character mechanics based on who you're playing as, which again is an extra level of detail, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from a Lego game. You know, you had it in a game like Gotham Knights that came out a couple of years ago when you played as the different members of the team. But it's fun that even in a Lego game, it's not just about the breaking of everything and collecting of the coins. There really is a lot of thought that's been put into it. So it was really cool to get to be able to play that. It was just the one level. We didn't do any major missions. We were really just going and stopping minor crimes. So there were muggings where you had to chase after the mugger, or there were the kind of group situations where you were in the multiple string combat, which again is similar to the Arkham games. So I've seen the basics of how it works, and so far it is shaping up to be something pretty cool. So I'm quite excited about it. We got to do that, and then we ended the day by watching a screening of Batman Returns in the Warner Brothers screening room, which was really, really cool. It's my favorite Batman movie because it's one that I grew up with, so I will take any opportunity to see it on the big screen and to hear Danny Elfman's score played on a big sound system. So that was just so cool, so much fun. That is my Batman day. Thank you to everyone who just tuned in. This is the first time I've ever done a live stream like this using StreamYard, trying to integrate all of the little videos and things. So do you know what? Let's look at the Batsy one more time. Really cool. It was trying to bring you a slice of what my Batman day was like, showing you all of this amazing stuff that I could get to see firsthand, but bring you along via all of the videos and things that I took. Thank you again. Please check out all of our Batman Day coverage. I picked some animated movies, which I think are the perfect pick for Batman Day because they're not necessarily your first choice, and that is over on our website, which is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk. We will be back with a bigger, probably slightly more slick episode of the podcast because it will be pre-recorded very, very soon. But thank you for bearing with me through my very first live stream, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.